Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, Leo King, and welcome to Deep Astrology, your weekly astrology forecast for the week of October the 21st through the 27th of 2020. If you've never watched the show before, this is highvibe.tv. This is the exclusive network for spirituality that is with daily, weekly, and exclusive content. Of course, all my daily horoscopes are on there, and daily tarot, weekly intuitive, weekly sun sign horoscopes, and so much more. And of course, this show in its full form, where it's live, only on highvibe.tv, and our apps, which are down below. And of course, you get the full aspect of the show. When I go into the charts, you get to see them fully. It doesn't go into the audio portion. You can actually see what I'm doing. Make sure that you join highvibe.tv today, especially because of shows like Full Disclosure, which we're doing a special one on Thursday, because after the election, we're going to be talking about it, but that's not only why. Tomorrow is my 3-hour special video that is going to be live only on highvibe.tv. It's a paid video. This is my CLIMAX 2020. If you watch my Destiny's Call, or if you watch my 2020 prediction video that called out all the events of 2020, it's like that. I'm preparing people to understand what this CLIMAX of 2020 is. It's an awesome presentation that I will be live streaming. You can be in the live chat. I'll be answering questions more deeper, of course, on Full Disclosure with Craig afterwards. We're doing it at 2:30 p.m. Pacific, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, so people can watch the debate. That'll be, of course, who knows how that one's gonna go. And after that debate, then Full Disclosure. This is not a video you want to miss on. Go to highvibe.tv, go to the paid videos section and purchase it. You don't have to be a member of Highvibe TV, but if you become a member, then you can have access to all the shows and this show in its full form always. And of course, you get Full Disclosure every week where we answer your questions. You can ask me any questions every week. We have hundreds of people in there all the time asking me questions about astrology, to what world events, to everything, and I can be fully uncensored there. And especially in these times, it's literally why highvibe.tv was made. So, if you've never watched the show, I'm going to channel the astrology to you for this week, and then we'll go deep into the charts, which are brought to you by Astrological on all Apple devices, including Macs, or on Android. But if you are on PC, check out Solar Fire. They just did another update on Astrological too. It's like 5.02. It's crazy, all the new stuff that's been added. But this is an interesting time, since the energies are not wild and they're not crazy. We are dealing with the pressure that has released like a volcano from last week, with the sun and the new moon, of course, in Libra, that's squared Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, and now you see Saturn moving away from Pluto. But it's Jupiter that's getting ready to get into conjunction here in November with Pluto, the last one of this year. And this is just the sun coming into Scorpio this week, which is a big deal because, of course, Mars is retrograde in Aries, and the original ruler of Scorpio is Mars. Mercury retrograde happening here in Scorpio, gonna meet up, and guess what? Come back into Libra, and Venus will come into Libra at the same time at the end of this week. But this is gonna be one of those weird times of where all this pressure is released. But it also means that we're seeing the echoes and the effects of all the pressure that came up. And I think that this is a very important week to realize that our deep needs and our deep wants, there's frustration, and how to get over any humps and barriers or any issues about making change and transformation. Yes, we're looking for the buried treasure, and we're getting so close and we're finding it. And I would say that by the end of this week, it's like, we've got an assurance that we've got it, but then with all this Libra energy that comes back in with the inner planets, Mercury and Venus, it switches the game up to going, well, let me reweigh it out again, really, in more physical form and in our mind even more. And so Mercury's already been in Libra, remember? It went shadow when it went to 25 degrees of Libra. And so we are in the Mercury retrograde part where it's going to come back into Libra, and it's still going to be retrograde into next week. So this is us with the sun coming into Scorpio, a major moment. Because in order for us to really heal, to understand the definition of what we want, we're going to have to see that with a Mars-ruled energy of Scorpio, and even Pluto-ruled, with Pluto getting ready for its big conjunction with Jupiter again, with Pluto at the same time that's been making great aspects to Venus, as Venus is finishing in Virgo this week. It's like, you know, we're ready to do whatever it takes, but there's also frustrations of the things that just that we're missing something from. And we've been trying to stay in this Libra realm of like, well, let me try and figure this out. And it gets to a point where there's no figuring it out. It's just like indulging into figuring out is the only way. Like you just have to go in, or you have to let the anger, or you have to let the frustration out. We are still in Saturn and Capricorn times, don't forget. And Saturn and Capricorn near the end here is really crusty. And that you know, the whole term of the end of like an earth sign I got was from Jeff Jower, and you know, he passed in 2014, but I just, you know, I always got that from him, was that whole, you know, at the very end, the crusty, and it gets real crusty here. And I just want to remind people, you know, that energy of control and restriction and stuff should be enough in your life to warrant for you to make a change, right? Feeling restricted? Maybe, I don't know. Some people maybe like restriction in life. I think restriction has its benefits, of course. Like we've seen the benefits of learning how to make sure that we kind of consolidate our energy, to make sure that we focus on things that are more important in our lives. But while we do that, we actually sometimes see that maybe the things that are really important to us aren't in our lives. And so I think that that's what this is, the core of this week is truly about. We are going to see some weird aspects this week. Of course, with the sun coming into Scorpio, it will square the moon in Aquarius. So we're going to have our first quarter square and a waxing moon with this moon in Aquarius while the sun comes into Scorpio. And these two are very, you know, intense and odd energies, right? You know, Aquarius is all about disconnection and connecting only to the higher realms, and it's, you know, about social aspects and so forth, where Scorpio is much more like, let me just be in my own hole, let me be in my own, you know, secret life, my own personal life. I don't really want to reveal things. I kind of want to be in my own space. I want to deal with my emotions really intensely, and I want to, you know, put a lot of pressure on them. You remember, Scorpios have a lot of pressure, and they hold their emotions really intense. And so that energy of intense emotion with the sun being there, which is actually highlighting, like I said, more Martian energy, because Mars is retrograde in its home sign of Aries. And we're in a Mars retrograde, and Scorpio rules Mars. And then we look at Pluto, and that deals with this intense vibe of need and want. And these energies are going through a lot. So to see this moon in Aquarius that wants to kind of bug out and disconnect, or at least try any experiment it can, this is going to be a little bit like the edge. Because I always say, if you see Aquarius and you see Scorpio in somebody's chart, you know they got tattoos, or you know that they're a little bit edgy, or they definitely hung out at Hot Topic a lot. You know, so this kind of brings that more edgy vibe that's way out of Libra vibe, because when this happens, there is no more Libra vibe. Like, there's no sun, there's no Mercury or Venus. That Mercury-Venus stuff is happening on Tuesday, the end of this whole week. So we're going to go into edgy waters, and it's going to feel like we're in really intense different worlds. It's like if we were watching, like, some, you know, if we were in some haunted mansion and we were going to go look inside the doors that we were afraid to look at, and then we decide to go up into the attic, you know, and then we decide to go into the basement. It's like, whoa, we're going to be going. But it's the fear of that you miss out on things. And I think that the key to this week is to be like, this is definitely going to feel like a different and intense transformation that comes from you entering into different ways of how you access your needs and wants, access connection, and where to disconnect from things that maybe you've held on to. Especially relationships come up still, because we have Venus that's making a great trine to Pluto, a trine to Saturn. So there's this big kind of like grow up lesson on making reality-based decisions, especially with Venus and Virgo, and to make something more in our actual reality in our life come to a fruition. But it's the weird energy of that everything's coming back into Libra, of a Mercury retrograde and a Venus. And it's ironic because it was Venus that went retrograde, remember, October, November of 2018, through this exact zone of where Mercury is retrograding, like to the degrees exact. And so this is bringing up a lot of where anything that you were really holding on to emotionally, and this is what's going to be the weird part, I think, with the Aquarian moon, is do we really know exactly what to let go of or what to embrace more? I think that it's the Uranian energy that's opposed Mercury here in the retrograde that has shown us that we really have no idea the direction that we think things are going to look or how they should look. Because with the South Node in Sag and with Jupiter and Pluto getting ready to come, this whole world and your whole belief systems and your whole idea of how life should look and should be and could be, and this is the way it has to look, doesn't ever work that way. It's not going to work that way, especially right now. That this is definitely us being just still the curious quest, the curious treasure hunter, the curious treasure hunter that's not afraid, to have to do some weird things. The treasure map's going to be weird. It's going to take us and say, I have to go down this pass and I have to go over the bridge over troubled water of acid. You know what I mean? Like, what? Like, it's like, yeah, you're going to maybe have to go to these different places. And I think it's an ironic time too, that we are in a place where the fear-based energies, that people are afraid of what's happening in the world in all aspects. That this worldly energy, we're going to have to learn to disconnect and go like, well, what is going to fulfill myself? And that's hard with the Mars retrograde, because I actually think that Mars retrograde is harder now that it's not squaring Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, because it's not having some resistance. Even if Mars is going backwards, it would want some resistance in areas, like a warrior. At least it's retreating because it's got a reason. But Mars has an ego issue if it's retreating on its own for no reason. Or it's just because of its own self, like it's scared or something like that. At least when Mars is in retrograde, and it's had a great excuse to be like, do you see why I'm retreating? Do you see how big all these energies are? This whole huge army coming at me? Oh my God, right? But when Mars starts retrograding by itself, it's like Mars is so worried about its ego, especially with Chiron there, like, I have to go pee and I don't want to pee in my night suit, you know what I mean? And it's like, the Depends broke, and then there's that whole Mars like ego issue of like, oh no. And so there's a lot of parts in ourselves that are going to have to go through a really big, like, getting over embarrassment of things that you might not be able to define exactly, maybe things that you are not willing to enter into because you don't want to, because there's other things that you want to, and not being weird that you don't have an excuse except the responsibility that it's not what you want in your character, it's not what you want to be responsible for, because that's not authority, and it's time to take authority over what you want, but there's no more excuse of, well, yeah, because I've got this, and I've got this, and I've got this. It really is just going to bring you down to like really sensitive core issues of like, this is because I don't want it. Like, it's like, stop beating around the bush, stop being not direct when it comes to yourself, when it comes to people, when it comes to situations where it's like, there is no more excuse of like, I understand why this is going on. And so it's been an easy thing, I think, when I look at the astrology, for people to kind of go, it makes sense why this didn't work out, or it makes sense, and then, especially like I just got the news today and it was all over the place that Quibi, the network, that it was weird because I auditioned for, I was going to be on E! News and try and be on E! News and be a host, and there was all this talk and stuff, and then it just all didn't work out, and I just didn't feel it, and Quibi went out of business, and it's $2 billion, and it was just like ironic to me that it's like, of course, it's easy for a company to just be like, well, because of 2020. Well, what I'm going to try and tell you here is that you can't use 2020 anymore. You can't use CV. You can't use this or those. You can't use any more excuses. You have to take responsibility fully of like why things maybe that you don't want to have, or maybe that you don't want to be anymore. It's going to get you down to that core, because the only way to get to the treasure here is the biggest oil drill to the truth of your life to strike it. It's a little like Beverly Hillbillies style, right? They just kind of had no excuse. They just were like, I don't know, we were just digging for oil and struck all this oil, and now we're moving to Beverly Hills. And so there's a little bit of Beverly Hillbillies to this, where it's just like, who cares? Like, that's what happened. And then instead of like everything having to be so Capricorn and structured, like, well, the reason why is because in Q1 I did this, and in Q2 I did this, and I had my mom tell me this, and I had this happen, and I had this happen, and this is where it's like the universe is like, Jupiter and Pluto are coming. Jupiter and Saturn are coming together in December. Mars is finishing its retrograde here, and in November coming out of retrograde. We have a huge full moon that's coming on Halloween on top of Uranus that's going to blow our minds. And I brought it up in my dailies, of course, if you watch High Vibe, but a lot of this too is, to finish this before you're in the church, is financial. Where are you with that? I mean, this is a lot about financial aspects. It's a Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. It's the sun entering Scorpio, which deal with the banks and financial sectors. We've got Uranus and Taurus. And this to me is so important for people to pay attention to, understanding how to manage money, but also understanding the economy at large, the world economy, and understanding what's happening. There's a lot happening. Today, PayPal came out and is going to merge and accept crypto. You have to remember that the World Bank, the IMF, and more importantly, the Fed just said, yeah, the US dollar, we're going to go to digital, but we need a little moment here to figure it out to be correct. Not anywhere on the top stories of the news, unless you're somebody who reads the Wall Street Journal, but even that's over right now, but if you're a CNBC person or a Fox Business or whatever, and you pay attention to money markets, you need to realize that the hidden energy, because this is what's going to be brought up about Mercury in Scorpio and retrograde and the sun in Scorpio, is everything that you're being shown on the surface right now is not what the real story is. The real story is hidden. That's the buried treasure in your own life. So, it's where you're afraid to go through the hidden. You're afraid to be honest. You're afraid to take the responsibility and tell people and be yourself and be like, this is the character of who I am. I don't want to be this. You can't use the excuse like I'm retreating because there's this huge freaking battle against me. No, it's just like straight up owning responsibility, and also owning the responsibility. Have you just like projected the story of what the world's telling you when there's another story happening all behind it? And if you're not willing to listen to that story behind it, if you're not willing to look either, and especially if you want to get into the whole, ship, right? I don't even want to say that word. That's how crazy it is. Not only in the MSM, but here on what you see and where any place that is public. It's scary. And it's not something to take lightly. If you're going to just like take the stories of the excuses, right? And that's why I'm bringing up this Mars retrograde square, all that stuff in Capricorn being done, is there's no excuse. There's no excuse what happened then and 4 years ago. There's no excuse for this ever. Ever. And the whole idea that people are okay with it means anybody who's okay with it is okay to be lied to. You would rather be the sheep. You'd rather be the sheep. And this is a time where the collective, when we talk about a split, there's definitely a split in the collective. There's a collective that will not take the responsibility of being silenced or take the responsibility of, number one, things that are not authentic and not real and not from truth. But with South Node and Sag, people get more into the stories and the beliefs. We all don't know the truth. That's the whole weird thing. There's so many things that are that right now. And this isn't about what side of the political aisle, because we all don't know. We all don't know. We all really don't know. We've got stories. And of course, I think we can all, with South Node and Sag, become really ingrained in them, especially with Jupiter Pluto about to conjunct. And I think that this is going to be one of those weeks where, even though you might not see, and you're not going to see from typical astrologers getting deep into all this, but with the sun going to be in quincunx to Chiron, and more importantly in the helio, with Venus going to oppose Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius at 0 degrees, and more importantly, Mars on its final week in Aries in helio, that's right, that there is a whole... This is that week that's setting us up for not only in the geo, the big stuff, but it's setting us up for, and Mars is at detriment when it comes into Taurus, remember, and deals with money, financial situations. They even had an article today that said that the election is going to probably be not understood who's going to be winning at the beginning of the day based off what we see on news, but the markets. I'm trying to tell you all that there has been and I've been warning people for the whole time, and that's why I'm doing CLIMAX 2020, because I warned people last year, and I warned people on 2020 what's next. And I warned people, and I don't want to come from a place of even warning, right? It's just about becoming aware that there's a whole entire other story that's been being on behind that's easy to access. But a lot of people don't. And this has been a time to go deeper. And it's also Capricorn, and it's also the year of the rat. And it's not easy because the rat wins the race because it's smart enough to go figure it out on its own. There was no instructions. Everybody wants instruction. And you have to learn to find the power from yourself within. And that's going to be hard with the sun in Scorpio. You know why? Because Mars is retrograde in Aries. Pluto is waiting for Jupiter to help Pluto even understand, well, what is everything that I've been doing? And Pluto's really good at being a digger. But Jupiter gives it a bigger understanding. And so there's this, like you might be digging, but where are you digging? Are you unconsciously digging in the wrong places? Or are you somebody that buys the story and keeps digging into that same story? Or just is more of you like to ingest. And you just want to, you just are like a Pac-Man or just eating whatever the trail that the red herring really is away from all the truth that you really need to understand. So let's take a look at the 3D chart and then we'll go into the charts right now. So this is today, and what's cool is the reason why I was saying Venus opposed Jupiter, Saturn, look at that. So Venus is going to be coming into Leo right away this week, and then this is Helio, remember, from the Earth's point, or the Sun's point of view. And so Venus will oppose Jupiter and Saturn. Also, Jupiter and Saturn, this is the last week before their conjunction in Helio. See how much farther from the Sun's point of view that Pluto, so Jupiter and Saturn are done with Pluto. And then this whole, Sun in Scorpio, remember that if we do look at the constellation of Scorpio, which remember is below, okay? What's gonna, what I try to teach people with is, well, where's the Earth? So, let me Scorpio down here. Oh wait, Earth's gonna be that way. Sorry, everybody. There's Uranus, Taurus. Oh, I was right. So, did I put it on to where you could see? I mean, there's Spica. That's Libra. I guess they don't have constellations, names, show. There we go. Okay, so there's Virgo, right? And then that comes into Libra. But when you go down, look at how Scorpio is low. Scorpius, you can see it down there. Because you have to go down to the underworld. You have to dig deep. Okay? The balance beams of Libra are literally on that. See that purple line? That purple line is the ecliptic of our solar system. Right? So that would be the equator of the sun looking out. Remember, the sun just also switched its polarities. 2 days ago, we had 2 major earthquakes, and the solar cycle just reset. So we reached that solar minimum, and now we're reset. The North and the South Pole just reset. So this is another kind of crazy part of a new world, and the projector loading up another projection here for the next, 7 years, pretty much, I'd say. So it's pretty incredible. But so there's Libra right there, exactly equal, right? See how it's equal? I mean, that's why I don't understand scientists and how they don't believe in astrology and how it could have nothing to do. Like, look at how equal Libra is. But Libra brings you down into Scorpio. And so Scorpio is something that's below, right? And then Sag is the hope to aim higher into life, which is why then Capricorn gets back up, and it, of course, is a cardinal sign. And Aquarius is a little high. That's why it rules the heavens. And Pisces is that ethereal highness that can also bring you down low, which then brings you to Aries, which just sits high on its own. That's the sun that rises, and that is the power, right? So having Mars right now, of course, still close to the sun, or the moon, or the Earth, is a big deal. And we're not near that full moon yet. That's going to be a big one. But if you notice Mercury, we're going through the retrograde because Mercury's passing Earth this week. So as I move this forward, this is the 22nd, this is the 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th. So here on the 25th, we're going to have, from Sun's point of view and Earth's point of view, right? Like, even though it's going to be this is not a conjunction when you see from the Earth of Mercury and the Sun, where it's Mercury behind the Sun, right? This is Mercury, of course, passing us, right? So this is a big deal. Like, this is just us having to realize that, you know, there's a lot of information that we're having to really get deep into and understand much clearer that's facing us. And with Mars on the other side, this is, again, dealing with understanding who we are and what we want and our desires and our needs. And this is a very intense time that we've finished the pass towards Eris. So that's what I'm saying. We've passed a lot of the pressure points. But pressure points get released, and then it could leave you kind of tired. It could leave you kind of like in an over-processing. That's why in tribal energy they dance, or why spiritual dance music we do came out, was because, of course, whenever I drop the bombs spiritually on you, you know, it's like, let's dance it off, right? Because it's a lot to take in. Well, we just got dosed with a lot. The sun reset, literally, with the polar shift on the sun. And what is this now? It's an open world, but it's an instant buried treasure. And then when it comes to money, I'm sorry. Mars and Saturn, when they come into square at the beginning of 2021, this is what CLIMAX 2020 is going to be partly doing. And I'm going to go into way more historical stuff. And there's a lot of surprises in CLIMAX 2020. I'm not going to give them away right now. But I'm just telling you all that. Remember that Mars and Saturn aren't done with their squares. Mars and Jupiter aren't done with their squares. And Mars and Pluto aren't done with their squares. Mars still has to come direct. And it will do a square to Pluto in Aries, but it will be squaring Jupiter, and it will be squaring Saturn in Aquarius while Mars is in Taurus and not in Aries. So that's why I'm saying that this reflection of the Mars retrograde in Aries is a big deal with the Sun being in Scorpio, because that's the original ruler of Mars. And it still is a ruler of Mars. And that's why I'm bringing in more medieval astrology into this, because this feels like medieval times. And this is a medieval time. And this is a medieval time where you're going to realize that you're retreating from the things that you don't want in your life anymore in order to access and have the treasures that you do want. So I think that's going to be a very big deal. And we're going to be fine, but I would say that the financial aspect, though, is creating the Capricornian structure that you have to remember. Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter just didn't meet up in Capricorn to destroy the world or bring it down. It transmuted the world to something different, hidden. And if you have been paying attention to beyond that stuff, you'll realize that there are those that understand that stuff and those that don't. And that's a long journey, because it's not like Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn are going to come back together in Capricorn for 100 or 200 or 300 or 400 or even maybe 500 years, right? So when we talk about the last 400 years of institutions and how life has been done, and the last Saturn, Pluto, 15, 17, that's 500 years, right? You would actually have to see that we are creating the new ones right now. And it's the people that know. And it's the new systems of power that know the secrets to what's going on. And if you don't know the secrets, then you're not in the know, then you're not going to be founding or a founder of those new institutions and be part of it. You're just going to be integrated into them, wherever that they want you to be. So wake up. All right, let's go to the charts. And if you are on High Vibe, of course, you're going to see them. But if you're watching on YouTube, this is pre-recorded, because I go live only on High Vibe on Wednesday nights. And you're going to go to audio right now. And please check us out, highvibe.tv, and then make sure that you get CLIMAX 2020 so you can watch live tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. Pacific and 5:30 p.m. Eastern. And don't worry, you can still buy it and purchase, and the recording is done. And you can always watch it on any of the apps for free. But of course, the event's not free, but you can have the apps. They're always for free. You don't have to like buy the app or something. But if you're a member, then you can join us for all the shows, and you get all the content and so much more. So let's go into what we are going to be seeing this week. All right, so Wednesday the 21st, we are in. We want that. Okay, October 21st. That's where we're at today. The sun finishing in Libra. This moon is getting ready to come over all Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn here at the beginning of this week. And with the sun moving into, Scorpio, there's that understanding of where are you at in the levels of life, right? Like, I hate to use like steps, but, we've had to take steps in our life for the last 3 years of Saturn here in Capricorn. And this moon is squaring the sun, but not exactly, because that'll happen in Aquarius. It's this, everybody's been trying to work out. And it's a lot of energy that's hard, because when the sun is in its fall and the moon's in detriment, and they're both, and they're not having the most fun time, I'm going to be honest. That Wednesday is just kind of this day of, Thursday, though, with the sun coming into Scorpio, is going to be different. And that's what I want to show you, because let's just finish this real quick. Venus trine Pluto. It's like, frustration and things that aren't in alignment that we don't see, we want to make a change. And that's what's happening. So we have this sun's coming into Scorpio here on Thursday, and this is the exact moment. It's going to be at 4:01 p.m. Pacific. And with the sun coming into Scorpio, it's going to be with exactly the moon on Pluto. So this next month of the sun in Scorpio cycle, we are going through massive, not only transformation, but the emotional, personal life stuff changing in order to see where you're at in the structure of your life, in order to see where you're at truly in if you're going to make it to a better place in your life, or if you're just going to kind of be demolished, by control and control systems, or that you don't have, if we're going to use medieval astrology right now, because I don't know why I'm going to be doing a lot of medieval astrology for CLIMAX 2020 and how it correlates to now, but if you don't have the knees, right, you don't have that power to just get up and keep doing, in Scorpio, you've got to have that energy, and it can be very dramatic too, like fearful or passionate, right? So it's like it's like that's the test with the moon on Pluto, the exact second that we're having the ingress of the sun. This is the chart for it. And I would say that this is personal life transformation to get you to higher places, or to see if you're just going to play weak in the knees. That's an older expression, and it's an expression that I think fits these times. Plus the moon will be with Saturn, which I'll be honest with you, not a fun chart. And if you were born with moon conjunct Saturn, I feel sorry for you in many ways. Just being honest today. It's not an easy life. It's a very difficult life. Actually, my best friend Johnny, who passed away 3 years ago, was born with moon in Capricorn conjunct Saturn, and he did not have it easy. And he went out hard. Did not go out easy either. So I just want to say that this is not going to be an easy month. Yes, it's going to be exciting if you're ready to completely transform and be honest and stop putting excuses to, and this is that whole thing of the warrior running away in retreat. Mars at 18 degrees of Aries, done with the squares, right? Jupiter's at 1952. Mars is here at 18. So, Mars is retrograding, and what's it retrograding towards? Chiron. And Chiron this week is going to go to 5 degrees. The last degree that it will stay at before it comes direct. So Mars is retreating now and looking at its wounded self, and it doesn't have an excuse anymore, because that's what the man and the energy of a man and the masculine is, right? Like, we like to have a reason to retreat, right? It's like a lot easier to be like, yeah, I'm retreating because, I ran out of gas and this didn't happen. There's like, when I crashed my car, I remember, it would have been a lot easier to blame it on this, blame it on that. Or blah, blah, blah. I remember it was just like, I was fucking being an idiot and I fucked it up. You know what I mean? I crashed it. I fucking was racing in my own way and fucking, like owning it. Owning it. You're going to see people who are going to use every excuse in the book right now. I'm tired. I have work. I have this. I have that. I can't. I don't want to integrate. I don't want to come into things. Moon and Capricorn on Pluto and Saturn. This Thursday, it's like, that's what you have to do. Deny, what, you don't want to do it? Oh, so anybody that right now is not on your team and doesn't want to support you and doesn't want to integrate and doesn't want to come in, don't waste your time. Don't even fuck around. If it's not all in and it's not all fucking wanting to go to the highest achieving and support in that space, it's a waste of time, because it's retreaters. Right? It's like people that just want to retreat. I just want to retreat. And it's like anybody who hangs on the fence about retreating, right? Where it's like, I want to retreat, but I kind of want to be here. Like, it's kind of that line where it's like, are you still in or are you still out? Like when I was in the military, it was like, you can't be halfway in and halfway out. Like there's no such thing. You're either all the way in or, you get kicked out. as we move on, it's interesting because on Friday is typically the day that we have the sun come into Scorpio on October 23rd, but we're having it on the 22nd. And the moon is going to square the sun at 0 degrees. I'm not looking forward to this since I'm a 0 degree Leo. This is one of the worst weeks for me astrologically, just by the way, just throwing my personal shit in there. Sun at 0, moon at 0 Aquarius. I'm not looking forward to this. But for many of us, I think that it can be a breakthrough moment, but it's gonna be a difficult emotional week. It's gonna come through the heaviest energies of control. I don't think we're gonna like what we see, and you know what, on Thursday, because it's ironic that the debate will be Thursday, and it looks like it's gonna be a bloodbath. And it's gonna be, so people who are gonna think, even with the mute button, I think it's gonna make it look crazier. I think it's gonna be crazier. And I think that it's gonna be way more intense, and I think that we're gonna be shocked. And I don't think we're gonna be shocked in any way that nobody knows how that shocking is gonna look. But it's just gonna look shocking. It's gonna look like we're all being screwed by both sides. And I think that that's that there was a hidden element to everything. And it's gonna come out some way that we're gonna all have to put those pieces together. And I think that experimentation of the moon emotionally, I think people are gonna wanna disconnect. But I think that, you know, you have to also be aware of what we're all doing. Like the collective is kind of rushed. I think it's interesting. Like I'm just going to use the election. Early voting is at its highest. It's like almost 30 million people now. Everybody in a Mars retrograde and a Mercury retrograde went to go rush to go vote. I wonder what's going to happen between now and the election in less than 2 weeks with all these weird things going on. Anybody think about that? And this emotional disconnect that's coming to only allow us to be honest with ourselves in Scorpio and be like, you know what, I'm going down to my truth and I'm not connected to that. I'm connected to this. I'm retreating because I'm responsible for that. If this is the proper way, I would say that would be a way to handle this energy. And, you know, I need edge. This is a week that we want edge, ironically, because we're not filled up with it in our personal lives. Yet we're seeing it in an outer world because we're all expressing ourselves because we've all been in a place where they have taken away our edge. And this is going to be also, I think, the fight for edge in people's lives again. And sometimes that fight for edge is kind of what I don't want to say it's wasted, but it should be used and utilized from within of your own personal life stuff, opposed to seeing that edge in the outside world and then going into that South Node Sag thing of, my beliefs are being messed with because of this, and then losing yourself and putting edge into that because that's just a bandwagon that just drops you off at the end of the day. And then you're back to yourself. And then you lose that power. This is where you have to find that independent power within the collective and that independent power within yourself and that inner new energy of, I'm going to experiment and I'm going to go my own way of what I need and what I want. And whatever that might be. It's going to be, and with Mercury here at 5 degrees in quincunx to Chiron, you know, I would just say that, you know, there's definitely a lot of things that coming into this weekend, Friday, it's just like, I think that we are all just needing to try something different. If we don't try something different, we're all going to feel emptier. And there's a collective, I listened to an old talk from Ra, who created human design. And it was interesting because there's a collective depression as the systems are failing in the reality. And he talked about this like over 10 years ago. And that makes sense because people are trying to find that system in order to find their happiness. When that's not it, it's the things from within yourself, of knowing yourself, knowing what you want, and being able to access those things that are available to you that you can manifest and you can create and you can generate on your own. But you know, if you're expecting other things to be generated for you or be told what to generate in your life, I think that that's going to be an issue. And I think with Venus here at 24 degrees, right, it's going to start to trine Saturn. I'm going to be honest, even though it's a great trine, we can actually create well and we can make plans on things well. It's got to have edge because of the moon and sun squaring. So the moon and the sun are not well this whole week, right? Like most of the week. They're just like, what? The sun comes in and gets poisoned. That's literally the original interpretation of why Scorpio has the stinger. Poison. Because the sun is ruled by Leo, right? So the light gets poisoned into the dark. And it's the middle of fall. And this is why it gets creepy, right? And then the moon's in Aquarius, this kind of outer world thing, and it's not connected. And Uranus is in Taurus, dealing with financial aspects. And that moon's going to start squaring Uranus of the weird world of money and where you sit with money. And that's why I keep saying and I've been right the whole time. I kept saying there's going to be no more stimulus. You really think there's going to be a stimulus? Like, for real? They're doing this on purpose. This is gutting the systems to change. There's other people that are making massive amount of money right now by changing money into different currencies and moving currencies and moving systems. And it's definitely not something to sleep on. And this would be a week to wake up for that. And I would say that I don't think that's going to be brought up at the debates. And I think that people need to really kind of look into that. It's always about jobs from both sides. Jobs doing stuff that nobody really wants to do. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever been like, oh, okay, Trump talks about jobs, Biden talks about jobs, and I'm just sitting there going, I would never do any of those jobs. And I know a lot of people that wouldn't either. But there's some people out there that maybe are just generators that just like, yeah, tell me what to do, please. But that's not the way, right? That's giving your authority away and having somebody make the authority for you in your life. Well, the others are going, I'm taking my authority and we're changing this and I'm moving my assets and I'm moving into gold and I'm moving into crypto and I'm doing this and the American dollar is just going like this right now and that rules the whole entire centralized banking system. And here we've got Uranus fucking things up. And people think 1929 was a depression. No, it was 32, 33. Look at the pictures then. Yeah, you'll see soup lines, but the ones that were the worst was the depression of what you saw people like during like Thanksgiving or whatever, like in a house on dirt, like with kids with dirt all over their face and their hands eating food. Like, and they were sharing a piece of food. Like, and that was more where we were at with Uranus and Taurus. So I'm just like trying to wake people up for this. And I think this Venus trine Saturn is not like, oh, this is glorious, I can have what I want. It's like a check on, do I have my shit together? Do I have my reality together with financial aspects and work? It's very work-related stuff and Venus-Saturn stuff. Do I have my shit together? Do I have all my ducks in a row? Do I know what I'm doing for my long-term future here, for career, for what I'm doing? Am I at a place where I value, if you have a job, you should feel lucky. And look at the benefits and look at the gratefulness, because there's other people out there that don't have shit right now. And this Venus is going to bring that up for those people, and then on the other side for the other people, and it's going to trigger a lot. It's going to trigger a lot. Because that moon in Aquarius is going to be like, my world is not what I'm getting, and everybody might feel like it's entitlement to, I have nothing, okay? It's going to be that. So you have entitled people who are like, I have everything, and I'm not appreciating it. I don't appreciate it. And then it's to be the other side too. It's like, I have nothing and fuck, like nobody appreciates me. Nobody appreciates me. And then I think that the same thing's going to be happening a bit people even who have things. And nobody appreciates me. This is where we got to shift into curiosity and not lie to ourselves anymore, because the age of deception is upon us. And I know that I did that in 2016 with the South Node in Neptune conjunct in Pisces, but the nodes this week are starting their square to Neptune. And so this world's going to look weirder and weirder and weirder every day that goes by for months and months and months. Trust me on that one. And we just entered into a water sign of Scorpio. And so let's just take a look at where we're at. With the moon being in Aquarius squaring the sun, they do get a little bit more power because they're out of their detriment in their fall houses. And Mercury has more power now because the sun's with it and it's in a much more powerful house. So this is balancing out the malefic energies a little bit more. But ironic enough, Venus is at fall, -4, even if it is trining Saturn in its home sign, right? So the benefics, look at, are the negative aspects. If we go to the weekend, Saturday, this moon in Aquarius is really weird to me. It's going to be sitting in no man's land for a little bit. It's going to make a sextile to Mars retrograde. That's about it. We're going to have a void off course moon for a long time. So I just want to tell people that it's going to feel like things are missing, like engine missing, misfires, like something's off, void off course in another world. This is not going to be the weekend of excitement that you might think it is, because the moon is just going to be offline. And it's connecting with Mars sextile, but that's a retrograde Mars, and there's no resistance. So Mars is almost like, look at all the peoples are looking at me retreating. You're going to be looking at yourself and your own emotional and inner reflection and where you need to retreat, where you need to re-identify, where it's not connected. It's off course. It's off. Because once the moon hits 17 degrees, once it hits 18 especially, it's off that. There's nothing there. There's nothing in opposition. There's nothing in Taurus there. And there's nothing till the end that it's going to hit. Right? Nothing. Can't count the nodes. It's not going to do shit. So I'm going to be honest with you, because look at Sunday. This is actually Craig's birthday. He's a 2 degree. He's in Sun Mercury. But the moon will be coming off that void of course moon Sunday at about 3 p.m. when the moon comes to 0 Cancer or Pisces. And it's going to quincunx over to Venus, but still. This is a whole weekend, even coming all the way, especially for East Coasters, 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Eastern. This whole weekend is going to feel like a offline weekend. And I think it's going to be kind of an important thing to understand, to find the buried treasure and kind of like just study the treasure map a little bit and kind of look in your life and go, maybe I do need to stop and reflect and disconnect, and maybe I do need to reorganize my life differently and go deeper. Maybe I do need to, especially with the Sun and Mercury, because whenever we have this conjunction point, it is a moment for you to go, okay, what am I trying to figure out here? There is a message in a bottle coming from a very deep place, but if you're going to be trying to connect and there's just a nonstop disconnect, trying to connect and there's nonstop disconnect, or trying to connect and it looks weird, and if you can't get to the understanding of the weirdness and you're going to deny that weirdness, it's going to frazzle in your face. Bad. Especially with Venus at the end of Virgo. It's monotonous. Chores, cleaning. Like, people are going to feel more, you're going to see some woman gardening or some man, maybe snow plowing, because I know they're already getting snow in the Midwest. Honestly, if I think about all of our friends in Europe, they're all in lockdown. If you're in the UK, you can't even go to a friend's house or your own family's house. You can't even go. You could only go to your house. And I feel for you all. I just want to let you know, as Americans over here, and I hope that there's other Americans around that are paying attention to that and being like, that's not normal, and that we all should be praying, and we should also be representative to make sure that we keep. And what is America? It's about showing the world how it is. That's not something that we want to go do, because it will feel like, what's the point of you being here on earth? Like, what? God wanted me to write off like the Black Plagues when everybody sat in their huts and didn't leave and people dying from the soot and the smoke because they were so afraid of getting a flea bite from a rat? Yet the soot killed them? I'm praying for you all, and I just want to say that this is a weekend where it's going to be like, wow, the person doing the chores is probably having more fun than the person trying to fucking fire every fucking thing they got at fucking edge to make it edgy, to make it extreme. And it's going to be like, that's because the things that you're trying to make extreme, you're not that into. It's not good enough. It's not passionate. It's not connected. So you're trying to throw everything you got at it. And that's going to be a big awakening for everybody, wherever that place is in your life. Wherever you're trying to throw, it's like you're putting on a fake Merlin suit and you're trying to throw fucking magic at it. You're trying to throw fucking magic, and you got the wand out and you're trying to hocus pocus it or whatever you want to do, because Merlin doesn't even believe in hocus pocus. But that's what it is. It's hocus pocus. This weekend is whatever you're trying to fucking connect with and make passionate, make amazing, is hocus pocus. Especially dealing with people. I hope that wakes people up. Because that Venus is just offline. Worst position for it to be. 27 degrees. Just going to be quincunxing a void off course moon. And it's going to feel like, gosh, am I just sitting in what I'm not really interested in? And that's why doing chores and just doing basic things and not trying to do some conquest or something great is a very important thing. And maybe, you know what, you got to do your books. Maybe you got to like look at your financials. Maybe you got to like look at, you got to use this weekend to go, let me get a better perspective of my world to understand how does that treasure that I want in my life fit in right? And do I have things that is my treasure chest full of shit that doesn't have treasure? And maybe you got to be a pirate and just be like throwing all that treasure off the back and the aft of the boat, right? And then just being like, okay, now I can fill it up with the treasure I want. So that's what this would be. This would be a treasure hunt that doesn't feel like a treasure hunt because it's getting the pirates and getting the boat together and sweeping it and getting it clean and then looking over and being like, is that the first mate? Do I want Shmee next to me? Am I over Shmee? And then even in Hook, when he just goes, oh, it's actually quite a cryptic movie. He like threatens killing himself and stuff. For kids. I don't know if you remember that. He pulls a gun to his head. And I would be careful of that mental health stuff this weekend because I think that people are going to be thrown a really weird blow this weekend of like, hey, yeah, there's something off in the world and there's something off in me, but it's because I'm not just willing to do the little things. I'm looking for some grander, edgier theme because I don't have an edgy theme and I'm holding on to things that aren't edgy. I'm holding on to treasure I'm not even into. As we move into Monday, we've got that sun here in Scorpio still. Mercury's going to come off it to 1 degree. Venus at 28 degrees. Not out. Doesn't come to Libra yet. Mercury and Venus will come into Libra on Tuesday. So the 26th is actually Craig's birthday on 26. This moon in Pisces is going to bring, I think, a better vibe because it does trine the sun, it does trine Mercury. And so it does have us kind of look at the wonders of an empty treasure chest and what to fill it up with. But it also could feel like the loss of, am I ever going to get treasure? And that would be because you're looking at, you didn't do the work this weekend to clear the chest out. You didn't do the work of understanding the misfires in life and what those misfires are. And I would like to say that this is just a lot of energy that is really off. There's not a lot of energy on. And that's what's weird, coming from such high energy and then coming low and then coming into the sun that just made its solar polarity flip. And it's still going to feel extreme, but I think it's going to feel like I don't have. And so if you're afraid, I would say that the only edge there is the fear to go into something new. That's the only place it's going to be. It's when you try to keep restarting the same motor that you just keep thinking is going to bring you something, and it hasn't, that you can't. And as we come to Tuesday here, as the sun will make its quincunx to Chiron, it is the day that we are going to see Mercury come back into Libra and Venus at 0 Libra. And it's very ironic because look at this. Like, we're talking about within minutes of like actual time minutes. Mercury will retrograde back into Libra. Venus will exactly go to 0, 0. And this is going to bring the harmony back that we are weighing out. It's almost like we found the treasure and there's this story and mysticism that's coming because of the sun being in Scorpio, the moon finishing at the last degrees. But I will be honest, there is something about a great let go and purge of the person we identified with as ourselves, of situations that we don't identify with anymore, with that moon sextile Saturn, with the sun and Chiron in quincunx, with Mars still in retrograde, and especially with Venus coming into Libra now to really start to rebalance things, and Mercury retrograde, which is crossing over where Venus had retrograded in it was November of 2018. and understand a lot of these past themes in our life and what we were connected with and what were those things and who knows where the direction goes. And I just want to also say that Jupiter now reaches 20, and Jupiter is going to start quincunxing now the North Node, because North Node is going to actually, you'll see by that night, Tuesday night, get to 20 degrees of Gemini, and we're at the last. That's it's interesting that, and I'm just bringing it up, that Donald Trump's North Node is 20. So, you know, it's going to be quite interesting to see how all this all plays out. But Jupiter and quincunx to this North Node is, I mean, people are on a search, or they're on a high horse belief that they think that they can figure out the world through a belief, when really you have to go on, you have to really understand the levels of the world. You have to understand how the world works. You have to be a rat. You have to be calculative in a way that might feel cold to other people, but it's not cold. It's that you understand shit needs to get done. And if you don't know how to get shit done, and you're wanting to be Zeus and just lay out and hang out with Juno and just eat grapes and fuck all day, good luck. You're going to miss out on the whole show, and you're also going to miss out on everything. And right now, there is a redefining of who's got power in life, and it's whether or not you know how to step into that. And this is where everybody's looking at the buried treasure and getting the buried treasure, and making their stakes in the Monopoly game, like I said, of 2020, what's next. And I hate for you all to be on the wrong side of the tracks, because that's what the Scorpio sun is going to reveal. We've been waiting for a reveal all of 2020, and that's why I'm doing 2020 Climax. Because look at this. These are the last charts. So if I look at Friday, October 23rd, I did the helio, when Venus comes into Leo, like I showed you in the 3D chart. So Venus is going to oppose Jupiter and Saturn. So look at Jupiter is ready to conjunct Saturn. It's 0059, there's Saturn at 132, and Venus is going to oppose that. That's Friday. So coming into this weekend, there is that about relationships. Is this really the rocket ship I want to go on to my future? That's like a Battlestar Galactica one too. Look at this, Mars, 27 degrees. It's done with the square to Pluto. And Venus and Mars actually on Wednesday, when we start this week, as we're talking right now, just finished their square. So here's Venus that's done in opposition to Pluto, but Venus is opposing all that. And then if I show you here, by the end of this week, Venus comes to 7, starts to square Uranus. Mercury is crossing over all this, and Mars, because where's Mercury again? Mercury on the 27th or 23rd. Where is it? Here it is, 21st. Mercury is at 12 degrees at Aries, so it moves 4 degrees a day. So Mercury's going to cross over the Mars. It's going to cross over through the Earth, right? That's the whole conjunction point, and then it's going to cross over Uranus. It's going to square Pluto. It's going to square Jupiter. It's going to our mind and our world and our environment and our understanding of things are going to be nonstop going through craziness, and everything is going to be shifting so fast and understanding, and that's why you need to be but that's how buried treasure and understanding a treasure map is. And it's like we were going, this is the next thing. It's very Indiana Jones mixed with, you know, City Slickers. And you know, I'm just preparing people for that the Earth is going to feel offline, but the solar system's going to be turning on, and it already did with the sun's polarity shift. And if we get to that end of this week, look at this, Jupiter and Saturn, less than 20 minutes in degrees apart, right? And the 20 seconds apart, sorry, or 20 minutes, but not literal 20 minutes in geometry, which is nothing in the degree system. So we are going to see next week Jupiter and Saturn conjunct in helio, from the sun's point of view. And that's a whole new world the week of coming into the next week, right? Which is going to be the election. So I just want to prepare people that this is a week to where I think that people need to really pay attention a lot more to their own personal life this week and your inside world and your deep needs and wants. And you need to be able to see what's about to be revealed is things that a lot of people already knew because they're willing to go look. if you're not willing to go look behind the curtain, if you're not willing to go deep into your truth, if you're still hanging around stagnant energy, if you're still trying to fire up motors that aren't lighting up in your life, if you're still trying to just kind of float, and if you're still believing in stories and you're not looking at truth, and right now they're doing that to everybody in every situation. I mean, that's why we got high vibe, and that's why I'm doing CLIMAX 2020, because I'm here to, and this is a Mercury retrograde and a Mars retrograde. So with a Sun Scorpio, if you don't know who you are and you don't know what you want, you don't know how to own that, and you just want to play, oh no, everything's fine. You're just you're worse than beating around the bush. That's the ultimate of just not stepping into your truth, because the Scorpio truth is somebody out of complete character and somebody who is not raw and authentic in truth and not trustworthy at all. And this is where, who do we really trust? Who really is saying, I'm this, but not showing that? That's the big question this week. And it's better to just own it. It's better to ask people too. Sometimes, you know what? And it's sad. You might need to actually, with Mercury retrograde and Scorpio crossing into Libra, be a diplomat and be like, do I need to help you, especially with Venus by Tuesday coming into Libra? Like, do I need to help you make this easy for you? Like, I'm sensing like, you know, you're not really all in. Your actions, all this, don't speak it. You're not showing up in life. What's the deal? You can be real with me. It's like sometimes you might need to extend out that instead to only resolve conflict in that way, because there is a lot of people who are not wanting to expose how they really feel because they don't know what to do next, or they're relying on you, or they're stealing your energy and taking your energy just for their own gain because they don't know what to do without it. And you're going to have to get rid of that, because that's like a fucking crazy alien from Alien and Predator that's like sucking on your face and trying to suck everything out of you right now. And there's already enough of that going on a hidden aspect in the world that's going on right now that's not wanting to reveal to you what's really going on. I love you all very much. CLIMAX 2020, make sure you get it. We'll be live Thursday at 2:30 Pacific. So if you're on YouTube watching this on Thursday morning, today, you can go to highvibe.tv and purchase it and just be part of the apps. Are free, or you can watch it on the website, highvibe.tv. You just make your login and you log in and boom. And you can do it on the apps, Apple TV, Roku, all that stuff, and then watch the debate and then come back and watch us on Full Disclosure. And there's a 7-day free trial if you want to be part of the chat part of it where we go deeper after. So honestly, that part's free too, like that part. So if you want to do the 7-day free trial, sending you my best. I'll see you on the next report.